G'day guys, welcome to the breaking live stream. Give us a few seconds to get all organized and we will unpack what's going on at the moment. There we go. Okie dokies. What are we doing? Welcome to the live stream, guys. Okay, I'm just setting up, so make sure to smash the share and we will find out the latest from around both in Israel and Iran. Welcome, guys. Give me a couple seconds. I just gotta. Perfect. All right. Welcome to the live stream. Let's take a look at what's actually happening as we speak. I'm going to find the latest. Obviously, what we know so far is let me bring it up on screen. So this is what we know so far. Right now, across Israel, the Home Front has sent out a warning to everyone, something that looks like this. It is required to adhere to the Home Front command guidelines in your area due to the preparations for a significant threat. So this was sent probably, 2:59, so about about 40 minutes ago. It is required to immediately comply with the Home Front Command's guidelines that are currently being distributed throughout the media. So that's from Israel's side. They've done preemptive strikes already in Iran. Now let's just see some of the footage of Iran. Hold on. So I'm just going to look for stuff as we're doing it. Okay. So let's see how this is playing out at the moment. Let's see what we can find already from Iran. Let's see if we can find footage from Iran. Okay, so let's look at some of the reports at the moment. We'll tune in.
There's enough fusion material to create 15 nuclear bombs within days. The Israeli military officials said, quote, "We are nearing the point of no return," and that thousands of missiles have been created. This is ballistic missiles.
Hold on, let's find actual live sources now for what has actually been hit. Let's see if we can get something. Let's see what CBS is saying, actually.
Weapons grade, so you can see how close that was and why it was making U.S. officials and other officials around the world nervous, and said you could ship that to Russia. By the way, that's what President Obama did in that 2015 diplomatic deal. So there are some ideas in this proposal that look very similar to that same diplomatic accord that President Trump exited back in 2018. Remember, until 2018, Iran had agreed to limit its program. It was only after the U.S. pulled out that they began this enrichment cycle again, and that has what has triggered this renewed concern. Their behavior in the region in terms of funding militias always continued. Their development of missiles also of concern to the United States. But the restrictions on its nuclear program are really of the utmost concern to President Trump.
Margaret Brennan, Chief Foreign Affairs Correspondent for CBS and the anchor of Face the Nation. We have an Israeli, what Israel is saying. We have reporting out of Israel that, and this is that the Iranian regime is advancing a secret program to build a nuclear weapon. This is according to an Israeli military official. Iran has enough material to make 15 nuclear bombs within days. And this, again, is according to an Israeli military official. So that is the latest. Again, Israel has just launched airstrikes into Iran. The Israeli defense minister saying in a statement that they are, quote, preemptive strikes. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and for some of you tonight on the CBS Evening News. This is...
All right, we'll get somebody from Israel shortly to join the live stream. So again, Israel is right now declared a national emergency. Everybody in Israel across the country are essentially under a lockdown. The only essential services are allowed out, so they're expecting Iran to retaliate to those airstrikes. We believe that the airstrikes were targeting nuclear facilities. This is the first time, I believe, of this scale. The nuclear facilities have been targeted. And this is in response to the fact that diplomatic talks between America, the US, the Trump administration, who said they have nothing to do with these strikes, but they obviously know about it, that those talks broke down. There was no deal, obviously, to be reached, and the American administration is saying it has nothing to do with. They're not involved in these strikes. They're not taking part in the strikes, but obviously the strikes are happening with the blessing of the Trump administration. What time is it right now in Israel? It is it's 3:44 a.m., so it's a bit early. I'm going to see if I can get somebody in Israel to join us. I know if you're in Israel, you're probably suddenly woken up to the sirens. But let's see what else we find. Let's see if we can actually see some of those Iran strikes. Let's see if Press TV. So you look at the Iranian site, see what they're reporting, then we'll jump on the Israeli ones. All right, I'll just bring something that can play on the side there. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Australian.
Prosperity of all peoples of the region.
Would he be better placed travelling to Washington and meeting with that country's
president?
Has that meeting been locked in?
Well, he is travelling to the United States, including to Seattle, and then he is travelling to the G7. And if I can just push back on the sort of implicit proposition you're making, because the Pacific matters to Australian security. The Pacific matters to the stability of our region. We're in a permanent contest in the Pacific, and the fact that we have senior ministers in the government, Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, Minister Conroy and others engaging with the region demonstrates we understand how this matters to Australian security.
Can I ask you both about something that has happened locally in Adelaide? There has been a death in custody. An Indian man became unresponsive.
Okay, that's going off onto another subject. Right now, the Israeli Defense Forces have posted on X. Let's bring that up for now. We'll come back to Penny Wong in a second. So this is what the IDF is saying. Israel Defense Forces have just posted the following. The IDF launched a preemptive, precise, combined offensive to strike Iran's nuclear program. Dozens of Israeli Air Force jets completed the first stage that included strikes on dozens of military targets, including nuclear targets in different areas of Iran. Today, Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of the Iranian regime are an existential threat to the State of Israel and to the wider world. The State of Israel has no choice but to fulfill the obligation to act in defense of its citizens and will continue to do so everywhere it is required to do so, as we have done in the past. From the sounds of this, we'll go back and take a look if that means that this round of Israeli strikes are done. And I'll get reports from Israel what's happening on the ground, because they have warned of
ministers whose extremist settler project or support for that is, for the reasons I outlined when I made the announcement, something we're all deeply concerned about.
Do you see these sanctions as an act of a friend who's trying to pull Israel back from the brink?
Look, we have a long-standing friendship with the people of Israel, and we want that to continue, and I said that when we announced. But we disagree with the actions of the Netanyahu government. We disagree with the actions of these ministers in relation to the West Bank, and we disagree with the actions of the Netanyahu government in the blockade of aid into Gaza. And that is a principled position to take.
Just on the escalating tensions between Israel and Iran, what communication have you had with both governments at the moment about these tensions?
Well, I did speak to the Israeli ambassador yesterday, and I would again say what I said in the opening. I think the international community understands the risk to peace and security from Iran's nuclear program, and we urge the parties to prioritise diplomacy and to prioritise dialogue.
Can I ask the Minister for Multicultural Relations, the death in custody involving an Indian man, there's more need to be done to build trust between migrant communities here and the police?
Look, I think I'd just reiterate what the Foreign Minister.
So at the moment, Israeli reports are, earlier sirens across Israel to signal a shift in the security situation. That's the post we brought up on screen a minute ago, which will be this one. Give me 2 seconds. Where did that go? All right, let's look at some of the latest updates. So, my phone is bugging out on me. The bloody Iranians. Let's pull up the I-24. It doesn't seem like they have much to say at... Okay. All right, this is what we have. Give me a second. We'll pull up the latest. Just 2 seconds. All right, let's see. This is the live blog from I-24, what they're saying at the moment. So which I think we're at the point where the strikes are done from what I can tell, and we'll look at some of the aftermath in a second. But reports of multiple Israeli airstrikes in Iran. let's see the latest, according to I-24, US news outlets report Israel is ready to launch. No, this is not particularly live. No. Let's see if they've given me notifications of... Let me pull up a better source. Okay, Israel launches preemptive strike on Iranian nuclear sites, military targets, according to the IDF. We read that off the IDF. Dozens of Israeli aircraft participate in initial wave of strikes and dozens of military targets. Warning signs have been set off to get public ready for potential Iranian counterattacks of ballistic missiles in Israel. That was the notification we saw. Iran has not yet fired ballistic missiles, but it has thousands of them. So that was the worry. The IDF confirmed that the reason for the attack is to prevent Iran from obtaining a nuclear weapons of mass destruction. That was the statement we read. Weapons of mass destruction in the hands of the Iranian regime are an existential threat to the state of Israel and the wider world, the military. According to the IDF, Iran has enough uranium to weaponize it to nuclear levels for 15 nuclear weapons within days. In recent days, Iran developed a plan with Hezbollah, Hamas, and other proxies to destroy the state of Israel, potentially including attempts to attack via all borders, including Egypt and Jordan. This was the point of no return, according to the IDF. Seeking to justify Israel's preemptive strike on Iran, IDF Brigadier General Effie Deflin noted that the Islamic Republic attacked the Jewish state twice in April 24 and October 24. He also said that Iran was the leader of the groups of proxies which had carried out all of these attacks against Israel during the war, including Hamas's massive invasion on October 7, 2023, and Hezbollah, thousands of attacks on Israel from October 2023. Give me 2 secs. Sorry, I'm just running everything at once. Okay, done. Okay. So he also said that Iran he also said that Iran was the leader of the group. So we said that Prime Minister Netanyahu has entered the security cabinet. The IDF targets also include commanders, bases, and nuclear sites. Through the main goal, though its main goal is nuclear sites, which is certainly an escalation. Further, the IDF said in the last 20 minutes, Iran was taken by surprise, and they were attacked in places they didn't expect. Israel has had strong coordination with the US, but Israeli military officials refused to say whether America was pre-updated or fully coordinated into the current attack, coming hours after Washington seemed to suggest it might not be in the loop or approve. There was also a possibility that Israel, having its navy in the area of Yemen and Iran, could have military implications, though the IDF did not fully specify. US President Donald Trump reportedly called a cabinet meeting following the strike. Mixed reports are saying there is a possibility that Israel has targeted the Chief of Staff of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards. This is a developing story. So, a few things. Firstly, the idea that Israel did it without at least informing, but more so the blessing, maybe not the official public blessing, of the US administration. The Trump administration is delusional. Of course, the US, and you can just refer to Trump's statements yesterday, where it makes it quite clear that he supported it. Let me just quickly get on a super chat. Thanks for the super chat. I'm not your fan, buddy guy. Would you say Israel also hit leadership in Iran at their home? So that's exactly what the speculation is about the Chief of Staff of the Islamic Revolution. So it's all very new, just happened. So we'll find out. That'll all come out probably as we're live here. But thank you for the super chat. I'll read all super chats throughout the live feed as we get more information. Let's take a look at some of. Let's just check back in with the press
The Labor
conference.
government is committed to.
More?
Just on the, sorry,
No, you go.
on the explosions that have been heard in Tehran, is it the Australian government's assessment that these are Israeli strikes?
I'm not in a position to respond to that, and I'd refer to my previous comments.
Are we contemplating withdrawing any diplomatic personnel from Tehran or from the wider region?
You should assume that we take the safety of Australians who very seriously, the Australians who work either in the ADF or in our other posts overseas through various agencies, and we will always take the appropriate action on that.
Just on the aid for Gaza, how will the 10 million assist if that aid isn't actually able to get into Gaza at the moment?
Well, that's why we've partnered with the Jordanian organisation that we've partnered with, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordanian organisation, because they are already operating within Gaza. This aid to them, that $5 million to them, will enable them to continue to provide that aid within Gaza, that urgent medical aid, as well as the food aid that we're providing to UNICEF through that $5 million. But we continue to use our voice, along with others, to call on Israel for the unimpeded access and distribution of aid within Gaza in line with international humanitarian law.
Minister Wong, sorry, just a
No
late
mention
one.
of the.
So you're standing there, and I was waiting for you to ask a question. I kept coming back.
Was the Prime Minister open to speak with the American President
narrative.
about on the sidelines?
Penny
of the
Wong
G7?
and a
Well,
Muslim MP.
the Prime Minister is a very experienced international negotiator, and I certainly won't preempt what he might want or have to say. But obviously, this is an important meeting. It's a privilege for Australia to be invited, and I know the Prime Minister is looking forward to the opportunity to engage with all of the G7 nations.
On the United States, the US says it had no part in these strikes. Is it your assessment that Israel likely timed these strikes deliberately ahead of sixth round of nuclear talks on Sunday?
Look, I'm going to refer to my previous answer on that. I'm not going to get into commentary on that.
On AUKUS, is Australia open to any changes to AUKUS if sought by the Trump administration?
Well, look, we recognise the enterprise that AUKUS is. It is a multi-decade, multi-government project, partnership to the benefit of all our countries, and we are all custodians of it. It will be many governments and many leaders and many defence ministers and many foreign ministers will have to make sure this project and this partnership continues and delivers. But I would make this point. AUKUS delivers benefits to all countries involved in the partnership. And in particular, there are many near-term benefits to the United States from AUKUS, including additional maintenance days, additional submarine days in the water as a consequence of Australian involvement, and in particular the ability for Surf Rotational Force West in Western Australia, which Dr. Ali would know about. This provides a capability now and over the next few years for the US that it would not otherwise have had. So we will continue to emphasise it to all
I believe are the
other partner governments, but also to the community. This has a benefit to all three countries.
Revolutionary Guard, the Islamic
This question,
Revolutionary Guard.
but is Australia going to substantially ramp up funding for maritime surveillance in the Pacific, as reported by Reuters this morning?
The maritime domain is an important part of ensuring a stable and secure region in which sovereignty is respected. Why is that? The Blue Pacific continent, as the Pacific countries call it. We think of the great continent of Australia, and we.
Okay, so we have Israel strikes Iran. Defense Minister declares special emergency banning large gatherings. So it's very similar to the COVID restrictions when you look at them. It was there when I first got to Israel. Israeli airspace closed until further notice. Prime Minister Netanyahu convenes Israeli cabinet. Homes of top Iranian officials reportedly target in the Israeli airstrikes. Iran suspends all flights. Earlier scenes across Israel to signal a shift in security situation. No incoming attacks detected at this stage. But this has all literally happened in the last hour. It kicked off at an hour ago exactly. A few minutes ago, Netanyahu issues statement on security situation amid strength of line strikes in Iran. Says op will continue for as long as it takes. Let's see if we can find Netanyahu's statement to see what exactly he's saying. It's unclear at this stage if the first round of strikes is completed. There's no reports, but it sounds like from what Netanyahu is saying that it isn't. Let's see if I can find a copy of the statement. Let's pull up. I'll share my screen with you. You can see it. Let's see if there's a statement is published on X yet. This is not. Let me see if I pull up a new site for it. So right now it looks like it's calmed down. The question, I think people are waiting to hear or feel if there is going to be a retaliation strike. It's 4 o'clock in Israel, 4 a.m. I saw all my friends had woken up for a minute. Okay, so Israel confirms that it has struck the Natanz nuclear facility in Iran. Here we go. The operation is called Nations of what was that line? Nation. Sorry, give me a second. Operation name is Nation of Lions. That's the operation for the strikes. The question is, has there... Let's pull up, see if I can get some more footage of... There hasn't been any word from the Iranian military yet. Now, the usual suspects calling it World War III. Is it going to be World War III? Do I think that Iran's probably going to strike back? I'm getting a sense that this is probably going to de-escalate quickly. It's probably, my guess here is it's Trump's approved it to try push for a bargaining chip within the negotiations. That's how that would be my guess on this one. You know, all the usual suspects. Every time that there is any kind of strike, they declare World War III. I don't think we're quite there, but we haven't seen how Iran. Here we go. Israel's
once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. and Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies, that would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear.
And that was Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu giving a statement on the airstrikes that Israel has just conducted
They
on
just
Iran.
cut him
I want
off.
to bring in CBS News.
Hold on, let me try to find the actual statement. It's because it's so fresh, it's hard to find the sources. Okay, let's look at Al Jazeera.
Well, we are getting breaking news out of Iran at the moment. Explosions have been heard in the capital, Tehran. At least 6 explosions have been heard. There were reports in US media that Israel is preparing to strike Iran. Israel has declared a state of emergency with a ban on gatherings. And we will bring you more information as it becomes available. But just a few more breaking news lines I can bring you. The Israeli Defense Minister has imposed a special state of emergency, as we were hearing there. That is in place immediately. Israeli radio is declaring that a state of emergency has been declared across all of Israel. That will ban gatherings and the suspension of studies at all institutions. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu is currently chairing an extraordinary meeting of the cabinet and the security mini cabinet. And this is in the context of rising tensions over the last few weeks between Iran and Israel. US President Donald Trump's comments recently have added to that sense of conflict as well, saying on Thursday that a strike could very well happen. These are the latest pictures from Tehran you're seeing now of those explosions. And we do have Tawhid Asadi joining us on the phone from Tehran. Tawhid, what more can you tell us about what is going on there in Tehran?
Okay, we're getting news now. IDF says that it has completed its first round with dozens of airstrikes. So the first IDF completes first stage of Iran attack with dozens of airstrikes. Senior Israeli officials relocated to secure locations. So it sounds like that was the first round done.
Well, it's about 3:46 local time here in Tehran, and based on what we have so far, sounds of several explosions have been heard across the capital, not necessarily at one particular point, and there are several of them. One of them was heard, and I personally heard that around 5-6 minutes ago. Another one was heard just in the heart of the capital around half an hour ago, and I can say that we've got at least 6-7 minimum explosion sounds reported to be heard in the city, in different parts of the city, western parts, the southern parts of the city. But still, we know that the state TV has confirmed the happening of these explosions. But when it comes to the cause, so far we haven't officially heard anything from Iranian sources, and right now, as I'm speaking to you, there are footages, there are pictures coming from different parts of the city, including Chitgar part, including a neighborhood in the western part of the capital. We see smokes coming out from certain parts of the city. That's obviously could not be an accident, as we are hearing reports coming from the Israeli side saying that they have announced an emergency situation, meaning that there is going to be a possibility, a very strong possibility for them to be involved. We heard this statements from the Israeli defense minister and also the Israeli radio saying that the army, the air forces are said to be involved in this situation. And we know that so far the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is currently chairing an extraordinary meeting of the cabinet and the security mini cabinet, and that means a sort of systematic initiation or a serious situation that we are experiencing right now in the Iranian capital. I cannot confirm whether these explosions mean that other parts of...
Let's listen to the Israeli Prime Minister's full statement.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors. They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act, and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed, never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves. Over 3,000 years ago, Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future. May God bless Israel. May God bless the forces of civilization everywhere. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the Prime Minister's full statement. Now, there are other reports happening. I've just been doing it on the side here that seem like potentially important notes. So this is unconfirmed, but seems to be everywhere at the moment. This is images of fighter jets in Iran taking off just a few minutes ago. What that means, not sure. Maybe are they either protecting their protecting themselves by taking off, or they plan to retaliate. Now, let's see what happens with that. So that's reportedly Iranian fighter jets taking off. We have a statement from Secretary Marco Rubio. His statement reads, "Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel." So I think that's the US government saying, well, we knew about it. The Trump administration, we're not in on the war now, so unless Iran attacks us, we're staying out of it, which I think is probably the good play here for them. It's also been reported, again unconfirmed, that Israel's killed the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mohammed Bagheri. What a name. Then let's take a look at some of the sites. Let's listen to the the IDF's official statement before we...
The Iranian regime has called... For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction of the State of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
Okay, so there are initial reports right now of swarms, Israeli drone swarm. So Israeli drones entering Iraqi airspace and heading towards Iran. So maybe stage 2 is about to hit. And there are also reports that several from the top brass of the IRGC have been eliminated. Again, that is all unconfirmed because I don't think Iran has have made any public statement. It's a side note that's worth pointing out. While this is all happening, we have in Egypt Islamists and leftists that have flown into Egypt for what they call the March to Gaza convoys.
Tell me what the fuck is going on in Egypt. What the fuck is going on in Egypt, Egypt? What are you doing? What are you doing kicking out the convoy? Why are you collaborating with the Israeli regime? There are beautiful convoys. All different types of people from all over the world that are trying to get to Gaza. And you bitches are going to help the Israelis? I saw a video saying that the Dutch delegation was stopped at the airport, turned around, and deported. I've already had multiple Americans tell me that they're being told that they're going to get turned away before the trip can even start, and they've already left the fucking country. This is how this shit continues because of the complicity of everybody, okay? Because you know what? I usually focus on the Israeli
that's funny.
regime
That's
because
just like
never...
lefties losing it over the fact that Egypt, who the entire pro-Palestine, free Gaza movement have been very quiet about, even though they have a much stronger border, much more secured border with Gaza. Well, they're kicking out all the protesters that have flown in, the Islamists and the lefties that have flown in to try to do a convoy to Gaza because they don't want anything to do with that. It looks like... So I'm getting... See, a lot of the reports coming out now. I'm going to share it with you, and we've just got to take it with, I guess, a grain of salt at this point because a lot of this is just home video, people posting online what they're seeing right now. Unprecedented noise in the skies. All of Israel feels like one massive Air Force base. So we have the Iranian Air Force. Looks like they've just launched their planes have taken off from their military airbase. Does that mean that they're striking back? We don't know. But I think that'll be obvious. This is reportedly in Israel. They're saying it's crazy. From their homes. So this is a massive operation, and Israel's clearly expecting some sort of response now, and they're preparing for it. So I think the next half an hour is really going to tell us in which direction this is going. But let's take a look at any more updates. Let's see what else we can find. So a lot of the... I'll pull up a couple of pictures for you. So they've obviously... They're saying they've targeted nuclear facilities, but also these are reportedly photos from some precise hits on specific apartments within Tehran. Again, those are unconfirmed, but it sounds like there were some top IRGC personnel targeted. The question is, was it successful? Initial reports indicate that there was at least one or two, but we don't know yet. So there's a lot of speculation online. I don't know if it's true that obviously there are rumors that the entire security apparatus, the top brass, were eliminated in these opening strikes. Again, that's a big call. No one's confirmed that, so I'm just going to wait and see who really has. There's more footage. Oh, well, there's more footage coming through. Let me get you this footage. So they certainly haven't stopped. I think the drones have come in now. It seems to, in fact, be escalating. Let me show you this latest footage that seems to be coming from Iran. Let me see what it says. Let me just see what it says. So this is about 15 minutes ago. Let's see what this looks like. Do we hear anything? No. Okay. But it looks pretty wild. So this is pictures from Iran about 20 minutes ago. Again, it's unconfirmed, so I don't know, but that's what it says in Hebrew on this. Again, in these situations, people reshare old footage from different wars, and it's hard to tell in real time what's real, what's fake, but there is clearly something big happening on the ground in Iran at the moment. In Israel, it is... In Israel, the entire country is under a state of emergency. I'm going to try to see if we can get somebody in Israel. But it is it's 4:30 a.m. at the moment, so it might be a bit hard. As well as the fact that everyone's in their bunkers. Okay, so there are now official reports that it is high likelihood that Iran's general staff and senior nuclear scientists have been eliminated in strikes, say sources to I-24 News. So that is huge if true. But they did also say that 20 minutes ago they finished the first stage of Iran attacks. But who knows? Maybe they've initiated round two, which was those drones that were being reported entering the Iraqi airspace. Let's see what else we get here. I might just sign into my X account on this computer just because it's a bit better. So just bear with me a second. I'm just going to sign in on my, just because we can get more direct footage straight away. Not working. All right, I'll pass it through. There's a lot of footage is coming through now that is reportedly from Iran, and it does look quite insane. I'll share it with you guys. X bugging out now. Oh no, here we go. Here we go. It is undoubtedly a huge operation underway at the moment. Let's see if we get anything. There's a lot of footage coming out of Iran at the moment, but the question is, have they really ended that first round? It's hard to know. And we're all waiting to see if there is a retaliation by Iran now. Let's see if I can find anything on that new. So the reports are that the military... let's read the latest reports from J-Post. Mossad leads series of secret attacks operations in the heart of Iran. The Mossad has led a series of attacks and missions in the heart of Iran on Friday. So it's about 4 a.m. on Friday morning. The Mossad Friday morning has led a series of attacks and operations and other missions in the heart of Iran. These operations are focused on harming Iran's strategic missile capabilities. They're also focused on harming Tehran's air defense capabilities. These are previous attacks. Let's take a look at what they were. In recent years, the Mossad has managed to host a host of operations inside Iran, which it was involved in secret aspects of the April 24, the October 24 attacks by Israel. It was also involved in seizing Iran's nuclear archives in 2018, a process which helped swing the IAEA in favor of Israel's, highlighting Iran's nuclear violations. In the Wall Street Journal, former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett has confirmed that the Mossad destroyed over 100 Iranian drones in February 2022. Yeah, whatever. We want to know about what's happening today. That's the thing. Even the Israeli press is trying to wrap their heads around what's going on. Have we seen anything out of Iran? Let's take a look at, what is it, Press TV? Let's see what they're saying on Iranian state press. Okay. So the Iranian state press says, this is their story. Loud explosions heard in Tehran. Loud explosions were heard in different locations of the capital, Tehran, on Friday morning. Media reports quote the Israeli army as saying it carried out aerial attacks on Tehran. A child was martyred in a residential area of Tehran. Holy moly, that is so... This is straight from their playbook. Just, there's some explosions and a child is dead. So the difference between Israeli press and the Iranian press is that the Israeli press is claiming that at least one senior official in the Iranian, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard has been targeted and successfully eliminated. In the Iranian press, a child has been martyred. Footage shows the aftermath of the aerial attacks on residential neighborhoods across Tehran. Iran's air defenses was activated Friday morning at full capacity, state TV reported. What else did they say? Iran's air defenses says it's at 100% operation capability. State TV reported, adding the reason behind the blast remains unknown. If that's 100% operational capacity, I dare say Israel's just able to walk in and do whatever they want. But let's see what the response is going to be. Let me see if there's any further updates or if this really is the end of that first round. Loud explosions are unknown, I know. Isn't that funny? Yeah, get involved in the comments, guys. You can. I'll read the comments as I go through. Arut Sheva is reporting, as Israel struck targets in Iran from the air, Mossad agents also carried out several assassinations on the ground in the heart of Tehran. So that's what they're referring to. That is big. That is big. Breaking, France has surrendered. That's from Dr. Ellie David. That's actually pretty funny. But that's big. That's big news. That while in typical Israeli fashion, so there were strikes on Iran in the capital. There were strikes on the nuclear facilities, and it sounds like the Mossad carried out assassinations on the ground in real time as it was happening. There's a few commanders reportedly assassinated, so eliminated. Commander of the Air and Aerospace Force was reportedly also eliminated. This is huge. The question is how big and what the response is going to be. Let me see if we can find. Give us a minute. We'll see if we're seeing. Let's see what the I-24 news, if that's what their live feed is giving us. We'll have a quick watch on it. Do they not do live anymore? English, let's go.
אזרחיה. מכאן אנחנו גם למדים, גם עם האירוע הזה שהרמטכ"ל תמך בתקיפה הזו, רצה אותה. אם רמטכ"ל לא רוצה תקיפה כזו, הוא יודע לבלום אותה. הייתה כאן הכנה מצוינת של אגף המודיעין, רוב הפעילות פה.
אתה יודע, הנקודה המעניינת היא נקודת העל חזור. כלומר, ישראל הגיעה למצב שבו אין ברירה אלא לצאת ולתקוף.
נכון, קרו כמה דברים. אחד, ריצה שלהם לכיוון הגרעין, זאת אומרת, הם פעלו עד כמה שניתן מבחינתם בחשאי כדי להגיע הכי קרוב לפצצות, ויכולת שיגור זה דבר אחד. הדבר השני,
Iran has declared a nationwide state of emergency, according to state media as well.
אדירה של טילים ארוכי טווח לעבר מדינת ישראל. ישראל לא יכולה לחיות גם עם איום כזה, גם אם הוא לא איום של
Happy birthday to Rukshan. It's Rukshan's birthday. This is a present from Israel to
היקפים
Rukshan.
כאלה של טילים עם ראשי קרב מאוד כבדים, והם עלולים גם חלקם ליפול פה, כי יהיה קושי רב למערכת. פה צריך לעשות תיאום ציפיות, לספק הגנה. ראינו שגם מול החות'ים לא יצא.
Might be a good one. Give me 2 secs. Let me pull it up. I'm running off 2 computers here, so I'm putting stuff on the screen and then I'm going to see what else is coming up. But let's see what this is.
Something I just heard from a senior Israeli official. First, Caitlin, something I just heard from a senior Israeli official who says that according to Israeli assessments, there are very high chances that the entire Iranian general staff, including the head of the Iranian general staff of the Iranian military, and several senior Iranian nuclear scientists were all eliminated in the Israeli strikes tonight. I hear that again from a senior Israeli official who says that several senior top Iranian military commanders, including the head of the general staff of the Iranian military and senior nuclear scientists, have all been targeted in those strikes. And according to IDF assessments, there's a high chance that they've been eliminated.
That is, if true, that is huge. And look, this is a real test for Iran, because until now, when Israel completed any sort of operation within Iran. Their response have been very choreographed, and it was embarrassing for them. Now is the question, because it looks like they've crossed the red line for Israel. They've got the green light from the Trump administration, and they're saying we're going all in, and this will be a question. This will be a test to whether Iran is just full of talk, or they're actually going to try to do something about it. They have to throw everything at it in response. The question is whether they have the capability. I don't believe they do yet, not yet. But if they got their hands on a nuclear weapon, which is why for Israel it is everything hinges on the fact that they never obtain a nuclear warhead, because if they do, there is not much Israel can do to defend itself. And when you're talking about jihadi states like Iran, that they will be a suicide bomber if they have to. They're willing to die for the cause, so they will nuke Israel probably as soon as they get it. And that's not me saying it; that's them who say it. All right, let's. I wonder is it just now? I'll bring this up. It's got subtitles on it, but if there's something important, I'll translate.
אנחנו מגייסים עשרות אלפי חיילים ונערכים בכל הגבולות. אני מזהיר שכל מי שינסה לאתגר אותנו ישלם מחיר כבד. אנו יוצאים למערכה ביחד, כשמטרה אחת עומדת לנגד עינינו, להביא עתיד בטוח יותר למדינת ישראל ואזרחיה. באמונה, ביחד ובמאמץ משותף ננצח. 77 שנים מיום הקמתה של מדינת ישראל, מדינת העם היהודי, שקמה לאחר שואת עמנו, אנו עומדים שוב לגורלנו. בשונה מבעבר, אנו ניצבים מול אויב כמדינה וכמעצמה אזורית, עם צבא שאין לו אח ורע בעולם. מעבר לטכנולוגיות, אמצעי לחימה ושיטות הפעולה, אנו נושאים איתנו אלמנט ייחודי נוסף, והוא הרוח הציונית והיהודית הפועמת בנו. בשם רוח זו, ומתוך אמונה בצדקת הדרך, מעשינו ידברו. אזרחי ישראל.
אלה הדברים של הרמטכ"ל אייל זמיר, דברים שאולי מבהירים את גודל השעה ואת החשיבות הגדולה, יוסי, של התקיפה הזאת, התקיפה ההיסטורית שמעמידה את ישראל במצב שלא הייתה בו קודם.
נכון, והוא אומר, אנחנו...
We'll have that going on. It does seem like CNN is already trying to say that this is... they're trying to suggest, so Richard Kemp is saying the CNN media are already trying to suggest that, and they're referring to CNN, that President Trump opposes Israel's strike against Iran. The fact that the US says it is not taking part does not mean that at all. My understanding is the opposite is true. And 100%, there is no way Israel would be conducting this mission without the behind-the-scenes support of America. And, while this is happening, the US mission to the UN is tweeting. So 40 minutes ago, the US mission, as this operation is happening, as Israel is striking Iran, the US mission to the UN was tweeting, "We strongly condemn the horrific terrorist attack by Hamas on Palestinian aid workers of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation that murdered at least 8 Gazan aid workers. Hamas has reached a new low in its desperate attempt to retain control of the people of Gaza, but it will not work. We stand with the efforts underway to bring the hostages home, end the war, and give the people of Gaza a future free of Hamas." So this is what the US mission to the UN is publishing as Iran is undertaking this operation. That symbols to me that the US administration is absolutely behind Israel's efforts. They're just not taking part in it, and they're I think they might believe that they don't have to, and I hope they don't. I hope this all happens between Israel and Iran, and Israel takes out the threat immediately. Netanyahu sends a message to the Iranian people. The day of your liberation from tyranny is closer than ever. I hope the Iranian people take this opportunity, if really Israel was successful in taking out that many of the top brass, that they tomorrow rise up and take out their, retake their country back from the Islamists. Because before the revolution, Iran was actually I think it was the first Islamic country to recognize Israel, one of the first at least. So they had a good relationship before. There's a lot of memes coming out now. The Houthis are promising war. If Israel has dealt with Iran in this way, I don't think the Houthis have any chance of survival. I'll keep that screen going in case something breaks. Let's see what ABC's running something at the moment. Let's see what their silly report's going to be. Probably something ridiculous. This guy is a clown, but we like to watch.
Security official is being reported here as saying that this was done in full coordination with the United States, and we've seen the US take some steps in recent days to protect its staff, so it was at least aware of Israeli preparations and took some measures in advance of these attacks. In terms of the actual extent of the attacks, they look to be very widespread. There are reports of multiple strikes around the Iranian capital, Tehran, also further afield at the Iranian nuclear sites, particularly the main enrichment facility at Natanz, the other site at Fordow. There are reports of strikes on residential areas in the capital, Tehran, which could be what Benjamin Netanyahu referred to, the targeting of scientists working for Iran's nuclear program. Israel has been accused in the past of assassinating scientists working for that program, and also ballistic missile sites right across Iran. Iran's a large country with an extensive military, so it looks like multiple sites have been hit. The damage could be very widespread. And here in Israel, they're preparing for Iran's retaliation.
What is happening where you are now in Jerusalem?
Just as the strikes were taking place, they activated the alert system for Israeli citizens. So we had sirens, we had the highest level of alerts, but that wasn't because an Iranian attack was underway. It was just to warn people that Israel had taken this action, that they needed to be prepared, they needed to be aware that Iran's retaliation could come at any time. The Home Front Command, which is the Israeli military agency that deals with, protecting civilians in times of war, that has issued the highest level of alert, put restrictions on public gatherings, schools and the like will be closed. It is the weekend here in Israel, but Israelis have been told to prepare for multiple days of conflict. Israel's airspace has reportedly been closed. The military says it will rely on the resilience of Israeli civilians and has warned people to stay near shelters, either public shelters or in their own buildings, and be ready to move into stairwells and protected spaces if and when Iran does retaliate. Iran has shown it can strike Israel. It launched two separate ballistic missile barrages last year, one in April and one in October. The October one did penetrate Israel's air defences and targeted intelligence and military sites across the country. There are 300 ballistic missiles launched in those two waves last year, and any Iranian retaliation to such a widespread strike on its nuclear program is expected to be larger than that.
What's this likely to mean for efforts to negotiate a nuclear deal?
It's very, very hard to tell. I mean, the Trump administration has been advised both to take stronger action against Iran and to wait for a diplomatic track to have success. And we should say that this occurred because the first Trump administration unilaterally withdrew from the nuclear control deal Iran had agreed. It unilaterally withdrew in 2018. And Iran even then did not start, enriching uranium immediately. It waited for over a year before it then escalated its uranium enrichment program. So Iran was complying with its obligations under something called the JCPOA, an agreement between the United States and major European countries in order to which would lift sanctions in exchange for Iran, foregoing nuclear enrichment. So Iran did that, but then President Trump pulled the US out of the deal, restored sanctions, and a year after that occurred, Iran, resumed enrichment and is now reached very high levels of uranium enrichment to the point where many observers believe it could soon weaponize that enriched uranium, and that's what Benjamin Netanyahu was referring to. In fact, just this week, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the Board of Governors, ruled that Iran was now in breach of its obligations under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Iran is a signature to that treaty. Israel is not. And that's the first time in almost 20 years that Iran has been ruled in breach. So Iran's nuclear...
So confirmed just now, the Iranian state media confirms Revolutionary Guard Chief Salami has been killed in an Israeli airstrike. So there is at least now one confirmation of that.
Being our breaking news, Israel has carried out strikes on Iran after days of escalating tensions over the nation's efforts to develop nuclear technology. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said in an address the country launched a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival, and claimed Iran had enough material to make 9 nuclear bombs within days. Israel said it was declaring a state of emergency in anticipation of a missile and drone strike by Tehran. And Defence Minister Israel Katz said schools would be closed on Friday. The strikes come a day after the UN's nuclear watchdog found Iran was in breach of its non-proliferation obligations, and just hours after Donald Trump asked Israel not to launch military action and to allow Washington more time to reach a deal to limit the Islamic Republic's nuclear program. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, has reacted to the strikes. He says Israel has taken unilateral action against Iran and that the US is not involved, and that Washington's top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Okay, turning to more breaking news back home this morning, and a man has died 2 weeks after an arrest in Adelaide.
Let's take a look at some of the latest updates. So there seems like confirmation.
Eastern suburbs 2 weeks ago.
Confirmation of... Give me 2 seconds, I'll pull it up. Yep, here we go. All right. I'll just... one second, I'll bring up the confirmation of... So Salami, the Iranian state media is confirming. Let me just pull it up for us. Let's try to get live footage here while I find...
אוקטובר מפגין פה יכולת חדירות מודיעינית יוצאת מן הכלל, ומילה טובה גם לאלוף בינדר, שהוא חטף המון ביקורת ובצדק על חלקו ב-7 באוקטובר כראש חטיבת המבצעים, אבל פה על פניו, כפי שזה נראה בשלב הזה, מביא תוצאות מרשימות.
It is reported that he has been eliminated in the strikes.
תמיד משווים את זה לפעולות קודמות של חיסולי כור. למשל, קחי את מה שהיה ב-2007 בדיר א-זור בסוריה. אז זה פה וזה קרוב, אתה ממרים פה שמינייה של מטוסי קרב ב-F-15I ותוקפים את זה. אתה יכול לסגור את זה באמת עם מספר מצומצם של שותפי סוד. אירוע באיראן היא רחוקה מאוד מהפעולה, מצריכה יכולת איסוף על אדמת איראן, וכמובן את הזרוע הביצועית, את חיל האוויר, והמורכבות של האירוע זה אירוע מאוד 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 מורכב, ונכון לעכשיו, לפי התוצאות עד כה, נראה שמגיע להם שאפו גדול. עכשיו, את חוזרת ואומרת, מה עם האמריקאים מתחילת המשדר, ואת צודקת.
אגב, יכול להיות שהם פעלו באופן נסתר, וזה חלק מהתוכנית, לא?
לא. זאת אומרת, תראי, יכול להיות קצת בשיתוף פעולה מודיעיני, מה שאנחנו צריכים זה לא את הנסתר, אנחנו צריכים את הכלים שלהם.
את הכלים. אנחנו צריכים גם את הנסתר וגם את הכלים.
כן, אז אני מקווה מאוד שהם יצטרפו, יכול להיות שהם יצטרפו בהמשך, אחרי שהאיראנים...
Let's watch live N24, which has got no translation, but it will give me the live news coming out of Israel.
מהתקיפות הקודמות היה קשה מאוד לאיראן להשתקם תדמיתית. זה דבר שאני לא רואה איך האיראנים משתקמים ממנו, לא משנה כמה טילים הם משנה לנו, כן? אבל זה לא משנה, זה לא ירים את תדמיתם. ישראל פה מוכיחה עליונות מודיעינית, תקיפתית, יכולת הפתעה, כלומר... צריך לומר, ההישג הישראלי למעשה בגדול...
Yeah, so what we're hearing is a report that Hussein Salami was killed in the attacks. That's the head of the IRGC.
מה שיש כאן, גם שלנו, גם של הקואליציה, המערך הזה פרוס?
I'll just turn that so I can hear what they're saying if there's any breaking news live. Yeah, but it is confirmed that So, sorry, yeah, so before when we reported that there was the first wave was complete, the first stage about almost an hour ago now. So this is 2 hours, this is the second hour. An hour ago we reported that Israel completed its first stage of Iran attacks with dozens of airstrikes. The second, Israel reportedly conducts a second wave of strikes on Iran 20 minutes ago. So this is very much a live operation in which now Iranian state media is reporting that the head of the IRGC, Hussein Salami, it's appropriate, has been eliminated.
ויהיו יותר נפילות ממה שאנחנו רגילים. אנחנו רגילים באמת למערך הגנה אקטיבית שעושה עבודה יוצאת מן הכלל, וגם הפעם הוא יעשה עבודה יוצאת מן הכלל. אבל המסה היא כזאת שאנחנו נראה פה יותר נפילות. ולכן ההנחיה עכשיו, היא להיות בסמיכות למרחבים מוגנים. ואני רוצה להדגיש כי שואלים...
So this is the army now warning, this is Israeli TV, this is like their kind of, it's their left-wing media, but they're reporting the army's telling people to be close to their bunkers because they're expecting something big in response. But it sounds like the operation is still ongoing within Iran.
אנחנו רוצים שכאשר תגיע מתקפה, מקסימום אזרחי ישראל יהיו במיגון המיטבי.
זאת אומרת, לא חדרי מדרגות ותחכו שם 5 דקות, אנחנו במשהו אחר. אתם צריכים למצוא מקלט מוסדר ולהישאר שם עד אשר תינתן ההנחיה.
They're saying to stick around bomb shelters. This is not like your normal strikes. This is something different.
וזה הזמן לעשות זה וגם להיערך לשהייה ממושכת. כי כאשר תהיה מתקפה,
I'll read a couple of your super chats while we're here. Thank you for the super chats and welcome to everyone on this live stream. We're just following it as it uncovers. I've got right now Israeli press because this is going to be the most direct, I feel like, so I'll translate for you when something important happens. But let's look at Civil Defence UK says Israel will not fail to protect themselves and the wider world. Stay strong, Israel. We stand with you. Absolutely, Civil Defence UK. Thank you for your super chat. Much appreciate the support and also You're absolutely right. You guys, I'll bring every so any comments any comments will scroll on the side there below me, but super chats, I'll read them all out. I really appreciate your support for the channel and for our live feed. Make sure, guys, if you're new here, hit subscribe to the channel. Well, first like the live, share it, hit subscribe to the channel and that notification bell so you never miss lives. We do plenty of lives. This one's just like a breaking live, so I'm living this historic moment with you. And you can get involved in the super chats. I'll read every super chat. Tiago says, what if Iran is nuclear capable? This could be bad. Absolutely, but they're not. If they were, Israel just will not. That's a line that Israel can't cross. So there's no way that Israel's failures on October 7 was that over the last few years they've put all their intelligence focus on both Iran, on Hezbollah in Lebanon, and they kind of dropped the ball on Gaza because they didn't see it as the threat it really was growing right at their border. So I don't for a second believe that Iran was nuclear. If they were nuclear, they would have fired something by now. Guaranteed. They're jihadis. But let's see what other breaking news is unfolding.
נכון, אבל את יודעת, וגם שמו של סולימני עלה קודם, יש בעיה בשרשרת הפיקוד האיראני, אתם פחות מכירים את זה. המנהיג עושה כל הזמן הפרד ומשול, הוא ממנה עד דרגת תעל ואפילו עלם בתוך איראן. זה דבר שאנחנו לא יכולים לחשוב עליו אפילו. אוי למדינה דמוקרטית אם תגיע למקום כזה, כי זה עושה המון בלגן במשטר ובשלטון. ולכן היום כשאתם רואים שעדיין אין תגובה איראנית, זה בגלל שבאיראן סמל לא יודע להרים את הדגל ולהמשיך אחרי סגם בסגן. ככה זה באיראן. סולימני הוא כן היה תחת סלמי ולא היה תחת סלמי. הוא כל הזמן בחש המנהיג שמה ועשה להם ערבוב ובעצם הרס במשך 35 שנה את השרשרת הפיקוד.
צריך רק להגיד, זה לא מפתיע כי איראן, גם במקרים הקודמים, היא לא ממהרת להגיב. היא לוקחת את הזמן, היא עושה אחת מצב. גם מתנהגת כמו סדר גודל של מדינה גדולה, ולא כמו...
Tell me if you guys can hear me properly. Just let me know in the comments if the sound... Because I'm trying to listen in to the live reporting from Israel while talking to you. So just let me know if it's frustrating. If it's frustrating, I'll turn them down a bit.
באיומים, פחות בביצוע, אבל זה לא אומר שלא תהיה תגובה.
So a senior US official, intelligence official, says that a senior US intelligence official says that the US did provide real-time reconnaissance support to Israel before, during, and after ongoing strikes using secure channels to coordinate every step. This is from a trusted source. I believe it. There's no way Israel did this without the US. But on the public front, they're trying to say this is Israel's operation. We have nothing to do with it. Don't strike back at the US, or we have to get involved. It's kind of a warning to Iran. Unless you want us involved, don't strike back at us. You can go strike Israel, and Israel's preparing for those strikes as we speak.
אנחנו מאפשרים לך גם לשבת עם הטלפון ולענות באולפן, אבל טוב שאתה מצטרף אלינו כאן. מה אתה למד בשעה הזו?
כן, קודם כל, אנחנו בתוך תוכנית סדורה שיצא לדרך. אנחנו כבר בתוך הגל השני, או לקראת סיום הגל השני. ואנחנו נראה פה עוד גלים של תקיפות במהלך השעות וגם במהלך הימים הבאים. ואל מול הדבר הזה גוברת כמובן הדריכות אל כך שאחרי ההלם הראשוני, האיראנים ינסו להוציא לפועל את תוכנית התקיפה שלהם, שזה אומר כמובן את כל נושא השיגור של הטילים הבליסטיים. צריך להגיד דבר נוסף. אמ"ן וחיל האוויר עוסקים מעבר לתוכנית הפעולה וההתקפה, גם בבחינה של תוצאות התקיפה הראשונית שכבר ראינו. עם התוצאות, כפי שהן הולכות ומתבהרות במהלך השעה פלוס האחרונות, מובילות, כפי שהן מובילות, נראה שמה שישראל עשתה לחיזבאללה ב10 ימים, של חיסול הבכירים של חיזבאללה, היא כנראה הצליחה לעשות בשעה הראשונה של הפעולה, וזה דבר משמעותי מאוד. מעבר לכך, נמשכות התקיפות עכשיו של אתרי גרעין ברחבי איראן, וגם פגיעה במדענים. זאת אומרת, לא הולכים כאן רק על התשתית ועל החומרה, אלא גם על הידע, שזה נקודה מרכזית מאוד. והפיקוד הצבאי, ממפקד משמרות המהפכה, כפי שאמר כאן אוהד חמו, ועד בסיסי טילים ומשגרי טילים, מכיוון שזו הדרך שלהם לתקוף ולפעול כנגד מדינת ישראל.
אני אקטע אותך לשנייה, זה קצת נשמע כאילו ישראל הפכה את החיסרון ליתרון. החיסרון הוא שאין לה את היכולת שלאמריקה יש כדי לפגוע במתקני הגרעין בעומק, אבל כן יש לה יכולת מודיעינית ויכולת כזו לחסל בכירים, ובזה היא השתמשה בעיקר.
זה נכון מאוד. עוד מהלך שקורה במקביל הוא פתיחת הדרכים לאיראן. תקיפה של מערכות הגנה, מערכות גילוי ומקמים, לא באיראן רק, אלא במקומות נוספים ברחבי המזרח התיכון, שבהם האיראנים הציבו מערכי גילוי כדי לנסות ולאתר את המטוסים הישראלים המתקרבים. ההשמדה של המערכים הללו נועדה לייצר דרכים פתוחות וחופש פעולה אווירי מבחינתה של ישראל לגלים הבאים ולהמשך לימים הבאים. וצריך להגיד, הייתה כאן בסוף הצטרפות של כל הכוכבים שהסתדרו, גם בהיבט הרע שאיראן רצה קדימה, ואיראן עשתה הרבה מאוד פעולות בתקופה האחרונה שלא הותירו לישראל ברירה, וגם מבחינת חלון ההזדמנויות שאפשר. יש כאן תיאום האמריקנים, הם לא תוקפים בעצמם, אולי הם יצטרפו בהמשך, אני לא יודע לומר את זה בשלב הזה, ודריכות גדולה מאוד דיבר על זה הרמטכ"ל, עם גיוס של עשרות אלפי חיילי מילואים, מכיוון שישראל מסתכלת 360. יש את גבול לבנון, יש את גבול סוריה, יש גם את אזור עזה כמובן, שעדיין נמצא בלחימה, וצריך לראות שמשם לא נפתחת רעה כאשר תוקפים את המכווינה הראשית של הטרור במזרח התיכון, את איראן. ולכן יש כאן הסתכלות רחבה מאוד והערכות גדולה מאוד גם בהיבטים האלה. ומילה אחרונה, יש 3 אנשים ושני גופים שמובילים את מה שאנחנו רואים שקורה כאן בשעות האחרונות. 3 האנשים האלה שנמצאים עכשיו בבור ומנהלים את ההתקפה על איראן זה הרמטכ"ל, מפקד חיל האוויר וראש אמ"ן. 2 הגופים המרכזיים שמובילים את המערכה הזו, חיל האוויר ואגף המודיעין. יש כאן איסוף מודיעיני עצום, שבעצם מאפשר את ריבוי המטרות הזה והדיוק שלהן, ואת היכולת של חיל האוויר לסנכרן ולהביא את כל הכלים ברגע הנכון, להוציא פעולה כזו אל הפועל. המבחן הגדול עוד לפנינו. איך תפעל איראן ואיך להתמודד במערכי ההגנה, ואנחנו יודעים שזה יכול להיות מוצר.
אולי כדאי לציין גם את המוסד, כן? חלק גדול מהמודיעין זה גם מודיעין שהמוסד
כל הכבוד למוסד, ויש לי כבוד.
So yesterday, Major General Hussein Salami, I just can't get him. Chief Commander of Iran's Islamic Revolution Group said, our next confrontation with the Israelis will be far more crushing, devastating and destructive. And he today, that was yesterday, his comment, today he is officially been eliminated.
מי שחוסל בטהרן, אתם זוכרים את המבצע המאוד הירואי? לא. מוזפרניה, המחליף של פחריזדה, אותו אחד שחוסל בתוך הרכב, עד היום לא מצליחים להבין איך קרה שם עם איזה רכב אוטומטי. זה מה שמפרק את...
דבר שאני לא רואה איך האיראנים משתקמים ממנו, לא משנה כמה טילים הם משנה לנו, כן? אבל זה לא משנה, זה לא ירים את...
Let's just get live, because sometimes it goes back a bit and then I don't... We miss what's happening.
לעזר בך בני כדי להראות קטע מהטלוויזיה האיראנית, תעזור לנו אם אתה יכול בתרגום, בואו נראה.
This is Iranian press.
در حال امداد رسانی و مهار آتش هستند. از مسیر پشتی مردم منتقل شدند، جابجا شدند و مردم رو خارج کردند. اما ساختمان بغل هم و ساختمان‌های کناری هم کاملا تخلیه شده.
כללים על זה שבניין נפגע וכוחות ההצלה בדרך. הם גם, כמו שאתם רואים, מנסים
There's reporting that basically the buildings was hit and there's first responders are on the way. That's how chaotic it is right now in Iran.
לדעתי בעצמו מושך את השידור ולא באמת יודע על מה הוא מדבר. כן, כוחות ההצלה וכיבוי, הוא חוזר על כל מיני משפטים כאלה.
הסברת לנו שבעצם מאוד נדיר שיהיה גל פתוח בטלוויזיה.
נכון,
שהמשטר לא יודע לשלוט
אבל בכל זאת, תשימו לב, גם אנשים בתוך עצמם יודעים לצנזר את עצמם. איראנים שגדלים 46 שנה בתוך משטר של צנזורה, הם יודעים מה לא לשדר, לדבר דיבורים כלליים, זה ממש מנהג של המשטר האיראני, אבל שוב, תשימו לב, הבניין לא כולו נופל, זה לא עזה.
Imam Tawhidi, Imam of Peace, has tweeted out, may tonight be the beginning of a new era of change and peace in Iran. May the dictatorship come to an end and may the Iranian people prosper and thrive once more. That's Imam Tawhidi.
וושינגטון 6, שעון ישראל, בעצם משהו צפוי צריך להגיד ששם עוקבים גם הערב, הוא נמצא בחדר המצב עם צוות היועצים הבכיר שלו, ודברים מעניינים שאומר דני דנון לרשתות זרות.
What time is it in Iran? It
is, I think it's probably the same as Israel, which now is
הייתה החלטה
5:11.
ישראלית
Let's see what
עצמאית,
Tehran is.
ולמרות העובדה הזו, וראינו גם את העברות של האמריקנים, שהם אמרו, אנחנו לא חלק מהתקיפה, נזכיר דברים שאומר, רק ביממה האחרונה, השליח של טראמפ למזרח התיכון, זה שנמצא גם בקשר ובשיחות ישירות עם איראן, סטיב וויטקוף, שמדבר על האיום האיראני ואומר, יש לפעול כנגד האיום הזה, או לעמוד כנגד האיום הזה בכל מחיר, וזה כאמור גם מרמז על הדברים ועל העובדה שארצות הברית ידעה, הבינה, הכירה גם באפשרות הזו. עמית, אתה...
They're saying that of course American knew
המליץ לצאת עכשיו, ביום הזה להתקפה, היה צהל אל מול שורה של התפתחויות שהיו כאן בימים ובשבועות האחרונים. צריך להגיד, דרג מדיני קיבל את ההמלצה, והלך עם זה עד הסוף.
Why Trump's diplomacy, first hands-off strategy worked, and why the nuclear he's got a whole report on it.
והצבא התעקש, והעובדה שהולכים על זה עכשיו, אפשרה גם את ההפתעה העצומה הזו בהיבט של ההנהגה.
היום הזה הוא היום ה-61 מהאולטימטום של טראמפ, שדיבר על חודשיים בדיוק. יכול להיות שגם זה יכול להסביר חלק מהתזמון לפחות.
עמית על קו הטלפון, אנחנו איתך עמית.
בדיוק בעניין הזה, יש איזה ספקולציות בארצות הברית נשמעות עכשיו ברשתות שם.
Candace Owens is taking the side of Iran. She's retweeted Marty Bade, don't worry friends, as arrogant and invincible as he may seem, in the end, the devil and all his children are cast into the lake of fire. Amen, she has tweeted with her cross, because I'm sure she's not talking about the jihadis that want America dead, she's talking about Israel. And she's going to be wrong like she often is these days, because Israel has to survive, Israel has to win this. And Israel's survival doesn't care how Candace Owens feels about it.
האם האמריקאים תוקפים במידה שהם מותקפים, או, וזאת אפשרות שנדונה לאורך כל החודשים האחרונים, הם לא תוקפים, הם רק אומרים לאיראנים, תדעו לכם...
There's also reports that the head of the Quds force has also been killed. He was the one that was replaced by, who replaced Soleimani after Trump killed him in the last administration.
זאת הייתה פונקציית המטרה הישראלית, לא להישען על האמריקאים, לא לבקש טובות, אלא פשוט שהם יהיו המקל שמגיע אחרי. וכמובן שהם יהיו אחרי...
There are reports that just before the attacks began, the Mossad in Iran, Mossad agency in Iran had deactivated the air defense system. So that actually makes sense, because Iranian state media was saying that they were working at 100% capacity, but it seems like every Israeli strike hit, which is just another level of funny.
וכאן את יודעת, היו המון דיווחים הרבה יותר פסימיים בחודשים האחרונים. תמונת המצב ששידרו הבכירים הישראלים הייתה הרבה יותר אופטימית מכפי שניכר היה כלפי חוץ. זאת אומרת, הדיווחים דיברו על הדונט המפורסם של טראמפ.
Reports that Iran's nuclear scientist Dr. Mohammed Medhi Terari has also been eliminated.
שזה התמתנות בקו האמריקאי ולא להשערה של אורניום. לאור הדבר הזה, וכיוון שהתאום הוא הרבה יותר עמוק מכפי שהיה נראה, אז אפשר להניח שגם ההמשך מתואם. אני לא יודע להגיד, אתן דוגמה, יואב גלנט ברעיון שהוא העניק לך ולי לפני כ4 חודשים, הוא אמר שמתקפה...
Guys, let me know in the comments if the sound of the Israeli TV is bothering you. I'm just holding it there so I can hear live if there are any... Maybe things. Let's flip over to Australian ABC because no. Let's just pull it up. They're chatting nonsense as usual, so let's hear what they're saying. Oh no, they've moved on. Sorry, I'll just keep that here for now. Let's see if there's any American.
Whether it was through Hezbollah or the Houthis or others, every time that they get closer to home, this becomes more of an existential threat for Iran. I would point out, though, that the attacks themselves on personnel are probably in a substantive way more important than the attack on the actual nuclear facilities. And I say that for the following reasons. The personnel that they are taking out are key leaders, as we understand from the reporting, across the military-industrial complex of Iran. They are key members not just of the nuclear program, broadly in the military. And that's an important moment for Iran to be losing that leadership. By the same token, the facilities that we're talking about in Iran are actually incredibly well protected and buried deep within the earth. Now, yes, it's true that Israel has attacked those, or at least one of, if not multiple of those different sites. But that doesn't mean the attacks were terribly effective in getting to the core of this nuclear capability. Much of the most sensitive equipment and much of the most the important part of the Iranian nuclear weapons capability is buried so far underground and is so reinforced that Israel does not actually possess weapons that would be able to destroy them. So in some ways, the attempt to attack personnel and the attacks on these nuclear facilities is almost performative and symbolic because there really is no realistic ability for Israel overnight to take out these Iranian nuclear facilities. Frankly, if they had that ability, they would have done it a long time ago.
Charlie Cooper, stay with us. I just want to read you some breaking news that's coming in, again, via the Reuters news agency, but they're quoting Iranian security sources. And that news is that Iran is planning to give a, quote, harsh response to the Israeli attacks. So again, that line that Iran is planning to give a harsh response to the Israeli attacks. I mean, not really a surprise there. We know that Iran's leadership has been holding a top security meeting for the past 2 hours since the attack started. I guess one of the key questions is they're obviously going to attack Israel. The Israelis are very prepared for that, or they're certainly preparing for it. The question is whether they will also attack U.S. interests in the region, specifically
That'll be their
Iraq.
mistake.
I would highly doubt that the Iranians would make any attempt to attack American facilities and American troops and interests overseas. In fact, part of the message that was given by Secretary Rubio in distinguishing that this attack was a unilateral attack by Israel and not the United States was an attempt to send a signal to Iran that the nuclear deal conversations that the U.S. government and the Iranian government are hoping to have are still on track. President Trump very much wants to be able to claim that he was able to come up with a nuclear deal. Before he was elected to office, he promised that he would end the Israeli-Hamas war within a short period of time. He was unable to do that. He promised the same thing between Ukraine and Russia. He was unable to do that. He would love to claim a major foreign policy victory in the form of a deal. And he is aware of the fact that what Israel is doing here is making that more difficult. So he is sending both publicly and back-channeled messages to the Iranians, asking them to stand down and recognize the fact that this Israeli attack is not the same thing as the Americans attacking them, and trying to dissuade Iran from doing anything against American interests. the American military force that could be brought to bear in a situation like this is many magnitudes anything that Israel could muster. And Israel is the strongest country in the region. There really is no strategic sense in which it would be a good idea for Iran to attack U.S. interests. I'd be very surprised to see if they tried to pull something like that.
And yet, though, over the past few days, we have seen that American diplomats have been pulled, for example, from the embassy in Baghdad. So it is a prospect that the U.S. at least considers a possibility.
Oh, no doubt. And what I would say is, in any time you face this kind of tension in any region, in a situation where war is possible, or in this case, where these strikes have begun and war is likely, is that the United States takes care, and many countries take care, of their foreign-based personnel, both military and diplomatic, to make sure that those people are not in harm's way. The idea that Iran would launch an attack on a U.S. embassy in a foreign country like Iraq seems highly unlikely. Now, that's not to say their proxies wouldn't. It's not to say that affiliated actors or sympathetic actors might not do the same thing. And the United States' decision to be cautious and to make sure that their people are out of harm's way to the extent possible is very standard operating procedure. This is the kind of thing that not just the United States, but the United Kingdom and various different European countries would do in the same circumstances. If there was any question about whether or not that they might be tagged with this and be blamed for what was going on, any nation would be smart to make sure that they pulled back non-essential personnel and kept them out of harm's way.
I hear what you're saying, but it's fair to say that trust has broken down between the Iranians and the Americans. And so in light of that, how risky do you think, or how high do you think the risk of a possible escalation is?
Well, I would say that trust between those two countries hasn't been very high for a long time. The idea that it's broken down, I don't know how high it would have been up for it to come tumbling down in any substantial way. I do think that there is a hope in Iran that they're looking for a way out of a crisis, and they know that that way is not through Israel. And the only other way through a situation such as this is appealing to the United States and hoping that they can come up with a deal, indeed with a president who claims that he is interested in a deal and prides himself on coming up with those deals. Now, it's very frequent in tense geopolitical situations that as negotiations go on, military action continues. You see that across the world, and you've actually seen that recently between Ukraine and Russia, where both countries, as they were approaching the negotiating table or discussing with President Trump and his team what a potential deal would like, were still trying to position themselves in a way of strength on the battlefield. So there can be mistrust on the battlefield, and at the same time, there can be an attempt behind the scenes through diplomatic channels.
Commentary on what's happening. There's no really big news in the last half an hour or so. Just to put it in context, I think Noah Tishby gives a good image here. So people who don't understand the region, this is what happened today. This tiny little Israel here essentially preemptively attacked all these sites. So some of them in Tehran that are obviously those top brass, whether it's military or in the nuclear thing of Iran. And now Iran says they're planning a harsh response to the Israeli attack. We'll see what that looks like. They've said that many times before, and it ended up fizzling. I don't know if they have the capability, and I don't think they're going to target America. And I do agree with that assessment from whoever that was on Sly News in England. Like, it's not in their interest to do it. But this gives you a bit of context to understand. So it's really Israel against Iran. Israel does have a much greater force, and a lot of it is just operational. They had people on the ground at the time coordinating it. So the reports are that Mossad were actually eliminating people while it was all happening. Ted Cruz, let's watch what
Ayatollah made the decision. We are going to plunge head first towards getting a nuclear weapon. And basically, Iran gave the middle finger to President Trump And Iran told Israel, you better strike us now, because if you don't do it soon, we will have a nuclear weapon. And when we have a nuclear weapon, this is a theocratic zealot who chants death to America and death to Israel. And they are building a nuclear weapon because they intend to be able to detonate a nuclear weapon in the skies of Tel Aviv or New York or Los Angeles. And so Israel is acting to defend themselves. And Sean, tonight, we should
Senator,
stand unequivocally with the state of Israel. The Ayatollah made the decision. We are going to plunge head first towards...
Was there any other? Let's see if they're giving us any other updates. Otherwise... I think the operation is actually done at the moment there. So I think we're going to call an end to this emergency live stream. So there were 2 stages in that operation. It seems like a lot of Iranian top brass have been eliminated, including the head of the IRGC and the nuclear program. Iran has promised a strong retaliation, a tough retaliation. We'll see what that actually looks like. Israel is in a state of emergency. Iran is currently in a state of emergency. And the coming hours will be interesting. Guys, stay safe. Make sure before we end this live stream, head over. If you're not already, if you haven't liked and shared it, share it, like it. Let's get as many people on these live streams. When I do them, I'll do breaking news. I do a bunch of live streams. We have our shows. So make sure to also head to, if you're not already subscribed to the channel and hit that notification bell so you get the notifications as soon as I go live. But I want to thank everyone who joined in today and those of you who jumped in on the super chats. Really appreciate your support. Have a good, safe weekend. God bless.